Hey, welcome to episode number 4 of the Tune In. We've got a great one today. Again, my name is Ben Tyree, and this is the Tune In. Please subscribe, click the red button on YouTube. Please donate if you'd like to help us keep making these shows. Please check out my website, bentyree.net. Any endorsements, any sponsorships, we're looking for them. Contact at bentyree.net. We've got a dear friend of mine on the show today, Paula Henderson, friend, neighbor, bandmate of many, many years in Burnt Sugar. Awesome person, awesome artist, saxophonist. We've got her coming on, so check this out. Here's her bio that I believe she put together on this day of the interview. Moist Paula Henderson. Now, Moist Paula comes from her band Moisturizer that she had in, I guess it was in the 90s. They started in the late-ish 90s and went into the 2000s. And everyone had the name Moist in front of their name. So she is known as Moist Paula Henderson in New York and elsewhere. So here is what she sent me. How to encapsulate 2 revolutions of Saturn into a short bio. Today finds me cat-sitting on the couch with an iwi attached to a strap around my neck. In the years leading up to this moment, I traveled to NYC on a magic carpet woven from clues I found in songs I heard on the other side of the world, and played bari sax with the progenitors of many of those songs, as well as in bands with countless new and wonderful friends, including Reverend Vince, Burnt Sugar, and Nick Waterhouse. I made a band called Moisturizer, one of the great loves of my life, for which I was renamed. I met a man named Melvin, another great love of my life. We keep on keeping on. Now I'm studying astrology and still flying on my magic carpet made up of music. I make soundtracks inspired by zodiacal charts of individuals and moments in time. I increasingly find that music and astrology converge over and over. So please welcome Paula Henderson.
Are we making a song?
Yeah, we're making a song. It goes like this. This is the tempo. No, that's my little cut. That's where I know where to cut.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
trying to be I'm
don't.
trying to be efficient on my end, so that I can,
You're always a
Paula. No, I'm
yes.
not always efficient. That's not true.
That's your reputation.
Well, I'm glad you think that.
I do. I think that of this duo right here. You are the efficient one.
It depends on what we're talking about.
Sure, sure.
See, So how are you?
You know, um, I am uh, grateful to say that I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm okay. Thank you. Better than that. I feel good. So I know that not everybody has that luxury today, but I
Yeah.
feel all right. So I'm glad, to be able to say that, and that we're here together. Clearly, you're okay too. If we're here together,
Yeah, I'm okay, I
yeah.
mean, these times are not without all kinds of
I
challenges
would make
and
a bet. None of us is completely okay.
that's always the case, right?
It's always the case, and it's like there is that book, I'm okay, you're okay. But what about the book, none of us is altogether okay?
See, I don't know either of those books, but like I
You
agree
don't know
with
I'm okay, you're okay?
it sounds familiar, but I've never read
Oh,
it.
it was a classic in the, well, definitely in the 70s. I don't know if it was written in the 70s or the 60s, but it's a pop psychology book. I'm okay, you're okay.
Mm.
You guess what it's about?
Positive thinking
It's about
or
I'm okay, you're okay.
being
Everything
grateful,
everything is
gratitude.
okay. It's all good. um remember Do you remember when anyone said to you it's all good and you didn't really think it was at all?
No, but there's a lot of people are writing these blogs about something that is now being referred to as toxic positivity. Have you ever encountered that phrase?
I heard it here
People
first.
that are like, no matter what, they're just like, oh man, it's all good. Just focus on the positive. And the premise of these blogs is like, actually, no, sometimes shit is fucked up and like, you really need to acknowledge that. And,
Yes.
you can't just like positively wish
See an
everything.
invitation in every predicament.
Yeah. So, and, I'm sure you've encountered people that are, and it's good to be around positive people, but like no matter.
I try to be around people like that. I try to be more like that than I am. Um I feel partly that it's a very generational thing, and that
Sure.
when I was younger, it wasn't cool to be that positive.
Do you
It
think
was
that do
like,
you
it
do you
was
think that
definitely uncool, to be like so positive all the time. Like, I feel like there, my generation was more prone to cynicism, and I don't necessarily feel great about that, but
mm,
sometimes I just got to let it out. you
I
know
think a good measure of cynicism is healthy because it's hard not to be cynical, you know, when it comes to certain
it's hard
things.
not to be cynical. It's hard to be cynical.
Do you blame the generation of positive thinking on the Secret, the book and movie? Cuz I
um
do. I think that kind
I
of.
that's an excellent question. I don't, but uh I'm very familiar with the, how can I say this not cynically? um the
Don't.
results of that book.
Yeah.
Results.
Yes.
And I would say, even to the extent that they're in my daily life. I didn't read it.
Mhm.
um I'm full of secrets. And
Yeah,
yet I don't have any secrets either. But
right.
I'm sort of full of secrets that aren't my secrets. I'm pretty open when it comes to my own life, but um you know I didn't feel like I needed to read that book. What do you think?
I mean,
Did
I
you read
never
it?
read the book. I saw the movie, and at the
Oh, you saw
time
the
I
movie.
yeah, at
Right.
the time I liked the movie, and now I kind of think it is kind of horseshit. However, some of it is there's things worth taking from the movie for sure. And
I'm sure.
a book I can assume as well.
I'm sure. Probably all of us. Hello, there's a cat. Um, Probably all of us falls on a spectrum,
Yeah.
uh,
Relative to the
in so
Secret,
many
right?
departments of life. But like for some people, it's probably like, I can see how for some people reading that book would like really improve their life.
Absolutely.
And so good, they can find it and it's out there in the world and they can get at it. And how's that for some positivity? Because it's like, if that book wasn't there, those people wouldn't be able to find it. So I don't blame it. I don't, I certainly feel the generation gap that I learned about when I was a little kid, you know, and I used to like Archie comics when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in the 70s, and there was a lot of things in those comic books that awakened me at the time. At what
Mm.
it was very kind of the women's lib was in that comic book, anti-pollution activism was there, don't litter, and like a lot of stuff, in those comics is still relevant now to the, and so as far as like, do I blame that kind of positivity on the Secret? I kind of attribute it to the generation gap, which was something that was referred to in these comic books, these Archie. They would talk about the generation gap all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was probably like 7, 8, 9, 10, and Archie, Veronica, Betty, Reggie, and Jughead were probably like 15, right? And so they were all talking about the generation gap through their lens, which was probably that, people who were 40 were square.
Right.
That's how I was introduced to that concept. But, the older I get, the more more frequently I think the generation gap is real.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just part of the human condition. And you can't really, I don't know, like I try to know what's going on with younger people, and young people,
Mm-hmm.
because that's two definite categories, I think. But I try and I try and keep up. And sometimes I just can't. And it's like, I just have to accept where I am in life and that I am, one of those square old people to those groovy young people. And that's where I fall on the spectrum now. I'm a square old person.
Well, maybe. I mean, I can remember when I was young, I sought out I was always around older people
Right.
who I
You
found
should pull up
interesting.
your natal chart and take a good look at your Saturn.
Oh, well, we can do this, but let me tell
Yes.
you this. So, I was always around people older than me. All my friends are always older than me because I felt like they knew about things I didn't know about, and I was
Right.
always curious about what
Saturn in the third
happened
house.
before me. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to know what was happening in the 70s and 60s and 50s, and especially with
Oh man, it was
music
so
and culture.
groovy.
So, no, but I feel like young people are still like that. Like they value hanging
Some
out
do
and
for
talking
sure.
with older people for
Some
sure.
do for sure.
Because they're all, there's probably teenagers right now that are listening to like the Stooges and James Brown and like,
Yeah, of
whatever.
course. Yeah.
Like all the good shit that is like good no matter when and who
Yeah,
is
it's
listening.
very easy for them to access it at the push of a button. Not
Yeah.
even a button.
Do you ever watch these? One of my hobbies is that I like watching reaction videos, and there's all these like teens
Oh,
and preteens that like film
like
themselves
teens the new
watch.
trend, twins the new trend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's
I
all
like.
these. Well, there's India Reacts, and there's
Okay, I haven't seen that one. I
No Life Shack. Like I like obsessed with all of these, right? Because it's just
Jim White was in one.
oh, was he?
Yeah,
But just
he
to
was in
see.
he was in one with these actors that I didn't really know who they were. John Riley, is that
Oh,
someone?
John C. Riley. Yeah,
Yeah, him
yeah.
and a comedian guy, and they listened to some record that Jim had played drums on 20 years ago.
Wow.
And they asked Jim to film himself listening to it and reacting it. And Jim was just sitting there like, and then these other guys were in the screen going wild, but they were
Yeah.
kind of acting like twins, the new trend, I thought.
Well, I really am inspired by especially seeing people that young watching something for the first time that I
Yeah.
remember being very excited by and something that changed the course of my life and then
I
seeing that
mean,
like holy crap, like I'm
yeah, it's
obsessed with
cool.
so watching that stuff gives me hope.
Yes, I
So,
agree.
yeah.
I have plenty of hope. And I think that, I'm really glad, I had my time having all those moments and I treasure them. And, it's like, so, what it was like. Like, what was the first album that like made you really just like feel like you'd arrived at adulthood?
At adulthood,
Hmm.
I don't know that I've
I'm
ever
guessing
felt
you probably weren't an adult when you like had that album or had that experience.
no, but I don't remember ever feeling like I had arrived at adulthood
Oh, like I felt
even
like
now.
when I heard Transformer,
Oh, okay.
I suddenly was, unified with my grown-up self somehow.
Yeah, I don't that's a tough one. That's a tough one for me cuz I was into
I
so
think you
much.
should think about that. I encourage you to think about it because it's like, as a musician, that music reached you when you were little. That gave you the inspiration and the impetus to become a musician, and the
Right.
folly and the everything that made you become a musician. It is because somebody's recorded music or someone's live performance reached you when you were little, right?
Yeah, I'll say that very early on, a lot of the stuff I was listening to, like I had other family members that also liked, like, like
Right, of
probably
course.
one of the
Of
first
course.
records I bought was a Rolling Stones record. And like, my dad wasn't big into buying records, but like he liked it. Like he was like, oh, I can relate to this. And like my mom, of course, and other family members. But probably one of the first things that like none of them liked and were like, why are you listening to this? Was probably like Bad Brains or something. And then I was like, oh, this is some shit only I like.
Yeah.
So then you start
That's a
feeling
good
like,
moment.
okay,
Yeah.
like you get that rush of being a little bit of a
Did
misfit.
your dad say, you call that music?
No, he never said stuff like that.
My dad
But
said
I
that
could
about,
tell he'd be like, what's going on?
yeah. I got great pleasure out of having obnoxious taste in music from the time I was about 14 to like 57. but,
I remember
but especially when I was like, I realized it was some way that I could like draw a line between me and my parents. And I'm like, yeah, you don't know about, um, I don't know, the birthday party. You don't know. You don't understand that.
do you know what the Satanic Panic was?
No, I never heard of the
It was
Satanic
this
Panic.
phenomenon in the United States in the mid 80s where all these sort of middle American conservative parents were like freaking out about heavy,
Metallica.
about just anything, heavy met Prince. They were just, everything was
Oh,
freaking them
right.
out. And some of these senators' wives started the PMRC, and they wanted to like censor or at least put like a rating on records so that parents
Okay.
knew like, oh, this is, risque or whatever. But there was this whole
Risque.
satanic panic, like,
RQ
where
for risque.
everybody's like, so I remember my dad when I first started like listening to like hard rock and stuff like in the 80s, he was like worried that everything was satanic, and he would like ask people, he'd be like, is Aerosmith satanic? Is this group
Oh
satanic? Are
my
these
God,
satanic?
that's like hilarious.
But
I've never
he
even
wasn't
heard
even
of this.
that bad. Like I know people's who parents never did not let them listen to music with drums, like just insane things like that. Like, right? It was never that bad, but my dad was always like investigating like what bands were satanic because he didn't want me to listen to bands that were satanic. And now I look back on it and I'm like for instance, Ozzy Osbourne's solo career, these types of people were very freaked out by that music. That was like peak satanic, right? Now I listen back, I'm like, these lyrics are actually very positive and constructive and uplifting. Like, what the fuck are these people hearing in this? But they just see like, the imagery is very kind of
Sure.
horror movie. And I'm lucky. I know some people that really got it bad from their parents, but so I had it easy, but that was just one thing I noticed growing
That's
up.
so interesting. Well, I think, I have very early music memories from like probably when I was like 2. And then there's an earlier memory that is not my memory, but it's a learned memory because my mother remembers it and always tells the story. But when I was a baby, she was trying to get me to go to sleep. But 1, 2, 3, 4 doors down on our street was a hall, and there was a
Mm,
rock and roll band rehearsing in there, and it
nice.
was loud. And she could hear it. And
Yeah.
I kept standing up, like I was maybe 8 months old, and I kept pulling myself up, like I didn't want to go to sleep. I could hear the music. I was kind of pulling myself up, dancing according to my mother. Anyway, she ended up getting me, bundling me up, taking me out down the street into the hall, and she yelled at these like guys with long hair in like 1963, or she said it was long. It's probably not as long as yours right now, but anyway, she told them off, and she's like, "I'm trying to put my baby to sleep," and I just really like feel like I must have been, I want to be with them.
Yeah.
Leave me here. Anyway, after that, like we didn't have a record player when I was a kid, but we had a wireless, which was a green wireless, and it was like, but like a nice kind of like uh that cinematic kind of green from the.
Was it like I heard you on the wireless back in 52, that kind of
Yeah,
wireless?
yeah,
You know
we
what I'm
had
talking
that
about?
was on top of the fridge. And so I was pretty obsessed with this thing. Like it was up high, you know, it was on top of the fridge. So it was kind of like in heaven, you know, it was like at the gates to heaven. And so I was really obsessed with this music. And I've never, you know, really let that music go. And I think that people that music they feel nostalgic about, it's like it's in them, you know, you can't take that out of someone. And it's even
Absolutely.
clearly been illustrated with you know, with regards to people who are suffering from Alzheimer's, that there's something in their brain that went in there a long time ago that was to do with a song. And that is
And
like going to light
emotions.
them up,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's like enlightenment. So I just think that, you know, I remember this. And I've been listening in the last few days to Petula Clark. Do you know who that is?
Absolutely.
Oh, you do? That's so
Absolutely. Yeah. My dad used to
You're so
jokingly call it.
weird.
My dad used to
Why do you know
jokingly.
about that?
No, because I know about I mean, I try to know. I've always tried to know about as much as possible, right?
Oh, right. That's why you were hanging out with the old people. I got to
But
look
I
at
was gonna say my dad
database.
used to jokingly call her Petula.
Yeah,
He'd be
Petula.
like,
Well, you know, I mean,
Petula Clark.
what a funny name. It is like Petula. It's like petulance.
But what was her big song? Did she do Downtown?
She did.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
right.
she had like, she was on the radio all the time and on TV when I was little. And I'm talking about 1966. I was 3, 4, 5, you know, in those, excuse me, late 60s. Petula Clark was a very kind of household name. And, you know, I knew what she looked like and I thought she was beautiful. She was beautiful. And so, you know, and it was a very rich time for pop music because, you know, there was the Diana Ross and the Supremes, and it's like all good 60s stuff. Australia had a lot of great bands in the 60s too that were on the radio. Bee Gees.
Bee Gees. Did you see their new documentary?
I'm about to watch it.
I really want to see it.
Yeah, I
I'm
might watch it
excited.
tonight after I dig out of my astrology obligations, you know, like when I complete them, that is. And so yeah, so we had the radio, but Petula Clark was like on the radio all the time. So I just started listening to her greatest hits in the last few days. And it's the darndest thing, but like those songs were all written by Jackie Trent and Tony Hatch. They're all like Brits, you know.
Mm,
And yet, what is described in those songs is my life in New York.
wow.
It's like downtown. It's like I know a place where we could go. Is don't sleep in the subway, you know. And I was just like, man, I was like singing these songs when I was little, and here I am, you know. I don't know, those songs were so evocative to me, and yet she wasn't even from New York, and I didn't even know what New York was. But
It's interesting. It's almost like they tap into something that might seem superficial, but then it taps into an archetype that everyone has an individual orientation with. You know what I mean? Like you can
absolutely,
say, "Oh, don't sleep on like mention the subway or something," and it triggers your own thing about it, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Well, that song, you know, I certainly lived out when I was married.
Yeah.
Like, but anyway, yeah. And then another thing like that that's like from later. So when I say what was the first record that made you feel adult, well, one of the first records that made me feel grown up was Jackson Brown's Running on Empty.
Nice.
And, you know, I bought the album with my own money, and it was, you know, it just was sort of FM rock, you know, like I felt like I wasn't like a little kid, wasn't, you know, with that record. And it was the first record I had, I think, that had all the lyrics printed in it. So I would like sing along. I was singing along. I like every song on that album I know really well. For side A, side B, you know, and then you know punk rock happened, and then you know I got real snobby, and then you know I didn't even think about that album anymore, and you probably like you know I got rid of it somewhere along the line. I certainly didn't bring it to Australia, and then one day I found it in a dollar bin at Academy on East 10th Street when it was over there. And I was like, oh yeah, I used to love this album. And I took it, and at the time, I had this deepest longing in my heart that was like driving me crazy. Like I just want to go on the road. You remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was obsessed. I was just like, I better get on the road because I have to get on the road. Like I was like playing in a lot of bands. I was having a good life as a musician in New York, but I just wanted to be on the road. Like it was eating at me. And at the time, a lot of my friends were having the experience of touring a lot, and it just kept not happening. And then it happened, and then it kept happening, and then it happened a real lot.
Mm-hmm.
But before it happened, I put this record on, and my head was full of this idea, and like at the time, I'm sure I was like writing about it in books, or as the kids say, journaling. And I was, really trying to pull this situation into my life, knowing it was not impossible. And I got that record and I put it on and I was like, oh my God, like every single one of these songs is about being on the road with a band. That's what
Mm-hmm.
this record is about. And then I read the liner notes and it was recorded on the road. It was recorded at sound checks and in the bus and in the Holiday Inn. Like every song is like where they recorded it. It's like some Holiday Inn in like Milwaukee or something, like it's like, and I was just like, oh my God, like I was obsessed with that record when I was like 13 or however old I was when I got it. And, I would sing all those songs, but I didn't know what they were about. I didn't know what it meant to, you know, go back and forward between Detroit and Chicago. Like I didn't know
Mm.
what any of it meant. I didn't know what it meant to have like VHS tapes on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
My little head was singing these songs, but I didn't know what they were. They weren't. But so I just started listening to it on repeat, and then out of nowhere, out of the blue, that's where all the good stuff comes from,
Right.
Ben.
That's right.
Out of the blue, along came Nick Waterhouse. Well, I'd been on some road trips with Burnt Sugar before that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then I really went on the road, and then
Mm-hmm.
I really got to live that dream and that reality. But that was somehow like so deep in my consciousness from that music, from when I was like a teenager, that
Yeah.
I wasn't even a musician. Isn't that
Yeah.
weird? Like it's like so, I don't know that downtown and like when we were little. So like what do you have some like things like that you feel like you just kind of like you had a record or a song you were obsessed with and then it kind of materialized? And going back to what we might blame on people who've read The Secret, I think those people who've read The Secret um talk about stuff like this, perhaps, like I think they call it manifesting.
Yeah.
I mean, these things manifest, right? Like they're in our head, they're in our consciousness, they're in us, and then they manifest.
They
Like,
do
I
and
don't know.
they do, and sometimes they don't, or
Sometimes they
sometimes
don't.
they do in different a way that you're not anticipating. If
Right.
I look back on my whole intention of moving to New York City, and
Hmm.
it was like this is what I wanted, but it completely manifested in a different way
Sure.
because you're co-creating with all the other people you meet and
Yeah.
circumstances you find yourself in. But no, I think about when you were talking about like this idea of the sort of road mythos, I guess you could call it. You know,
What did I call it?
I'm calling it
Oh.
like I guess the mythos of the road, the
Oh,
road
yeah.
life.
Sure.
I think about Zappa. I think about like
Yeah, I remember you told me to watch 200
yeah, I
Motels.
think about like 200 Motels or like a track called Road Ladies from Chunga's Revenge, and like that was stuff I was listening to when I was like 12, 13. And
Right. That's what I'm curious about. Like, what did people
obviously
listen to?
I didn't have as debauched a road experience as they did by far, like
Not
my
yet. Not yet.
not yet, right. No, but there is a dimension of that. Like 200 Motels is based on the premise that going on the road kind of makes you really crazy and loopy and silly, and I definitely know that. And
Yeah.
it does because you're like with the same people, you're trying to like entertain yourself, you're trying to entertain. And this is where I started like doing voices imitating
Oh,
people in the
yeah.
band, like just
You do voices. That's true.
just being nuts and trying to laugh and make people laugh, and that's a big part of being on the road for me.
It's a huge part. Like it's interesting what happens to language when you're on the road with a band,
Yeah,
because it
you
kind of
mutate.
mutates. Exactly, that's the correct word. It mutates, and it's like my really funny moment. I have two funny moments that I remember about that. But one time I was on tour with Nick Waterhouse, maybe for 6 weeks in England and Europe, and when we got to London at the end of the tour, um, Nick used to live in England. He went to school there, so he has friends there, and we went to meet Nick Waterhouse's college chum,
Mm-hmm.
George, and we went to this like posh coffee shop, of course. And George said to Nick, "What is wrong with your band?" Because we were all just like jabbering away in our like mutated language and
Talking nonsense
like
to
insane people, and he was just like, "What is wrong with them?" And then
That's great. Yeah,
that
that's
was the
what
one time.
happens.
And then another time wasn't like being on the road like that, but I went away. Oh, this is gross. Maybe I shouldn't tell this story.
That's up to you.
Well, no, I'm going to skip it.
Okay.
We don't want to think about that. Let's keep
That's
it positive.
the first band
Secret.
I ever traveled with was this band Miscellaneous Flux, which was a band
What, can you say that name again?
Miscellaneous
Oh yeah,
Flux.
I've heard that. Maybe I've heard it
Yes.
recently. Yeah, miscellaneous
So it
flux.
was a band I co-founded, and this was like 98 to 2005.
How old
And
were
we
you?
18 to 25.
Wow.
And we kind of had our own language, and it was like if you were around it, you would think it was funny, but you'd be like, this, what the fuck are they talking about? It was just
Right.
nonsense, and
Yeah.
it'll still crop up in like different situations, and people will be like, what did you just say?
Yeah,
Yeah,
moisturizer has a lot of those like in you had to be there kind of references
right.
that I don't see Moistina very frequently anymore. I haven't seen her this year at all, but um every now and again she'll just like send me some text message that's some cryptic text message, and I'll just be like, oh my god, like we have a crypt full of non sequiturs and
That's great.
yeah, moist moments.
That's great.
Moisturizer was also born in 1998.
That was a good year.
It was. It
1998 was a good
was.
year.
Yeah, I liked it. Um, yeah, moisturizer. 1998 was like sort of like my most tragic and also my most fun year.
Hmm.
Like all of that. It was a real kind of agony, ecstasy kind of year for me.
Hmm.
But yeah, moisturizer happened, and it was really so fun. It was just a dream come true, that band for me. It's like that's why I still can never get over it. It was so
Hmm.
fun. And it ran its course and it hasn't been replaced. It's been
Yeah.
gone a long time now, but I still I think I'm always still trying to fill that post moisturizer, empty moisturizer jar
Hmm.
scenario, because I make when moisturizer ended, well, it kind of coincided with the aforementioned out of the blue tour uh, situation. So I was on to the next thing, and that became my next thing, and it's been really amazing. And but I think I had it at the expense of what I had in moisturizer in a way,
Yeah, sure.
and now I have neither.
Right. Now nobody has any of it.
Now I just have me and my iwi,
That's
and
right.
which is really fun. I'll just blow it.
Now, for those who don't know what iwi is, it's a electronic wind instrument, right? It's like a saxophone, but now does
The
that have
synthesizer.
is that hooked into a sound bank or it has its own
It's
built-in?
that has its own sound bank. But
Yeah.
I just did some experimenting um, with it. Uh, you know, Akai sent in my email box a link to download a free digital audio workstation.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, let me see what this is. And and it was like plug in your MIDI, and I opened it up, and it was a digital audio workstation. They were like plug in a MIDI device, and I just started playing, and I was just like, um, I can see, my future as a musician might be just really like endless hours of amusing myself.
Isn't that what it is anyway?
I
Right?
mean, you know, as an only child, I had to learn to amuse myself at a tender age.
That's something we have in common.
Yes,
Yeah, one of
you
the many
know,
things. Yeah, that's the thing.
it is.
I had to figure out how to amuse myself as well. My
Yeah, I
first
had nobody to play with.
my first thing was visual arts.
Okay. I know you. I've seen your visual art. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Well, my visual art has always been raw. It started raw, it remained raw. There's no technique or skill involved. It's just like
Are you saying raw, like raw
raw.
meat?
Yes.
Okay. Not like son
It's not
ra. You're not
refined.
saying
It's
raw like son ra.
no, it's unrefined. It's not it
I see.
doesn't involve any kind
Yeah.
of, you know,
Well, some like it
accumulation of
raw.
technique. Yeah. No, I mean I love visual art that way. Like I told my
I like music that way also.
my dad likes to have little paintings of like cottages in the English countryside, and I'm like, my whole thing is, why would I want art that looks like something you can see somewhere? I want art that shows me something you would never see. But that's just me.
I like that idea.
That's just me. Like I like
That's your Aquarius innovative side showing through.
well, I
You're
don't
an
know if it's
originator.
innovative, but
Yeah, it is.
or original, but it is what it is. I don't know.
It
But
is
yeah.
not a little picture of a cottage. But yeah, I like that about music too.
Yeah.
I like just going for it, seeing what
Yeah.
happens.
I
Some
like
things are
that too.
great, some things are not great, but that's okay. That's life.
What is
Um,
your most transcendent musical memory
oh,
that
that's
comes
a
to
great
mind
question.
where you
I,
just were had an out of body experience? I know I've had several, but what about you?
I've had so many.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to pick one. I'm going to pick one that's to do with Burnt Sugar, which is the band we play in together.
Are you going to say
In case
Minneapolis?
in case anybody is listening who doesn't know that we are bandmates
Yes.
in Burnt Sugar. No,
Yes.
I'm not going to say Minneapolis, although that was a damn good one. But um, then that lady like jumped up out of her
I,
wheelchair and started dancing
I
around to
was
Pretzel
just
Logic.
I was just talking with Shelly about that.
That
Yeah.
was a precious experience, but it wasn't transcendental. Transcendental. I mean, it was transcendental in joy, but like I had an experience playing with Burnt Sugar at Real Art Ways in Hartford, Connecticut,
Mm-hmm.
and it was outside, kind of
Mm-hmm.
in a parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
We played there many times, and sometimes we played inside, and sometimes we played outside. And
Mm-hmm.
this particular one time, the sun was setting,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't like packed, but there was a good amount of people there that were just kind of like vibing with us. Like it was almost like the boundary between the band and the audience was very mellifluous. Like not like people were on stage, which how unfortunate, really. But but like that's like how music is.
Yeah.
But um but they were just with us, like it was like, and we were with them, and the sunset, and it was like a spectacular sunset, and it was just one of those so magical Burnt Sugar shows that was purely improvised, and it
Mm-hmm.
just went into the greatest place. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was really like, and you just had to be there because
Yeah.
those things never happen twice, and
Yeah.
um, and it wasn't recorded, and it was just so that's one of my real favorite ones. And then I've had like I would say in the true meaning of transcendence, that lots of times I have that with Reverend Vince. It's just like really loud, and there's so much going on, and Reverend Vince is like so amazing and such like a kind of like um you know he just opens things up, like he opens up all these like little portals and his on his gig that is really fun to be part of that band. And but then I've had like transcendently joyous experiences playing music where I'm just like so happy that I just can't even believe it. Like, playing with Irma Thomas. I'm just like, I could just like die of happiness, or like with Smokey Robinson. I was just like, I'm just like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is, I'm so, but it's not like transcendent because it's more like I'm in my head saying, I can't believe this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But, I definitely, with Irma Thomas, like I was just like weeping. Like
Oh.
it was, so is that transcendental? That's
Sure.
not
I
quite the
mean, I
same.
think
I
there's
mean,
different levels of it. I think, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, those are definitely highlights. And and then like you said, like it's happened it's happened countless times. So it's hard to pick a time.
Yeah.
But I do remember that one time with Burnt Sugar on that particular gig that was like, but even like things that, and often it'll just be a moment of a show, like a
Mm-hmm.
moment of a moment. And like one such moment was recorded with another, again with Burnt Sugar, that I think was really like a moment of ecstasy for everybody concerned. And that was in that kind of like not very conducive environment in the theaterette at Brooklyn Museum,
Mm.
where we played Space Oddity,
Yes.
and like the build up to it. And it was just like,
Yeah.
it was just like the intro, and then people kind of went wild, I think, or maybe they didn't. But like I felt like I went wild, like when Mikkel started singing.
Yeah.
And so, I remember moments like that are just almost like photographs, but like bite-sized videos of like things in my mind that are just like, once again with Burnt Sugar, I'll never damn forget, like as long as I have a memory that works in the expected way.
Yeah. It's
As long as I have that memory. When we played Shaft at the Apollo, like at the you know culmination of our lives leading up to Corona,
yeah.
when we hit that da 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 da, da
Yeah.
and
And
the
everybody
audience,
went nuts. Yeah.
everyone, I mean,
I tell
I
people,
had
I mean,
tears flew out of my eyes.
that was the last, that's not the last gig I did, but it was the last gig in the city I did. And I was telling people, like, if that's the last thing I ever do, hey.
I mean, that last week was really incredible for me because the Resistance, I played there the next night with the
That's
Resistance
right.
Revival
That's
Chorus.
right.
So, I mean, like, I did, and I was just like making jokes. Like, this week is like the grand finale of my life. And little did I know, it just might have been. It was the grand finale of a chapter of my life, that's for sure. Pretty
Yeah.
good. It was a pretty good grand finale. And, astrologically, we are approaching the grand finale of this year,
Hmm.
even as we speak, which is going to be on Monday, December 21st, the winter solstice,
Mm-hmm.
when there it will be taking place in the cosmos a grand mutation of a great conjunction.
Is this the Jupiter Saturn thing?
Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn and Jupiter come together at 0 degrees in Aquarius for the first time in almost 800 years that they have
That
been
sounds like
together in Aquarius. I
relevant
know.
to me as an Aquarius. I'm like,
I
what
know
is
you're going
this?
to have a big year or two or three.
I hope so. That's what my mom said. This. I was really depressed the other day. I talked to her on the
Mother
phone for like
knows
an hour.
best, Ben.
She said, "You're going to have a really great 2 years." I don't know
Yeah.
why I'm saying that, but
Mother,
the Jupiter and
yeah.
Saturn thing, I think I read something about it in the past couple months, and they think that you know, that is what happened when the three wise men, you know, followed it to the
The
birth of
star.
Jesus. Yeah, it wasn't really a
Exactly.
star, it was a
Yeah,
Jupiter
because
Saturn.
as I've been, in the non-spectacular Brooklyn night sky, just like, through the parking lot at Walmart lights up there somewhere, I can see them and they're moving together.
Wow.
Jupiter is moving towards Saturn
Wow.
and it's catching up. And so I've seen them, over the past couple of weeks or so get closer, and they're going to join up on Monday, and they're going to be like one big glowing Christmas star.
Wow.
And so that is a big deal in
So
the world
that's
of
the big
astrology.
day. That's the day that you want to really go out and see it.
Yeah. It happens at 8:30 in the morning Eastern time, but I guess, if you get up earlier, you'll catch the night sky and you'll see it almost exact. Or it might even be still visible at that hour because it is the winter solstice. But um, Saturn and Jupiter come together every 20 years. And then for 200 years, they come together predominantly in signs which astrologically have the same element.
Hmm.
So you know how you're an Aquarius and you're an air sign,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm Gemini and I'm an air sign. That's why we get on great. Um, well, I love all the elements. We couldn't do without any of them. But that conjunction at 0 degrees Aquarius, an air sign, is the first of 200 years of such conjunctions of Saturn and Jupiter every 20 years, most of which will be in air signs.
I see.
And that is why this is called a grand mutation, because for the past 200 years, most of the Saturn and Jupiter conjunctions, which occur every 20 years, have been in earth signs. So earth is about the material world, and air is more about the metaphysical world and the world of ideas.
Hmm.
So it is said by astrologers that we are at the brink of this new era when ideas, it already exists. Look at how we're hanging out.
Yeah.
This is
That's
it.
that's very inspiring, actually.
This is it. It's inspiring to me too. I'm comfortable with it. It's not going to be comfortable for everybody, because if they're trying to cling to the physical realm, it's like, when subway tokens were replaced by Metro cards, and you're still trying to,
Ah.
like, you still got your 10 pack and you're like, damn, I've already bought this 10 pack. They don't take them anymore. It's like that, you know, and now they have something called Omni or something. I don't know.
Oh
I had to
God.
take the subway the other day. I was not happy about that. It was raining and I had to get to Manhattan, and the ferry wasn't an option in that weather. Snowing outside, huh?
Is it? Well, it's dark, so I can't
Yeah,
really.
it's been snowing
Oh
over
man.
here in Crown Heights for I'm
Good.
not far away from you.
I know. Is it
It's
snowing over
snowing
there?
it's snowing in the material world.
That's right. It's exciting. I feel it was a very. I woke up today and it felt like this is going to be a very cozy indoor day. I'm going to do some of these and just be cozy.
Are you quarantining?
I mean, I'm kind of always am. Yeah.
Same, yeah.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, you know, I do have little social things every now and then where it's like I'll meet somebody for
I know I've seen you on Instagram with somebody here and somebody there.
a beer or something, but it's always
A
very
beer.
within protocol. I mean, you got to do something sometimes, and it's always
Yeah.
outside. It's
No,
always
it's really
outside.
true. You got to do something
I
sometimes.
mean,
And
if as soon as it started getting warmer, I was like, I need to like figure out a way to see people and be
we
safe,
went
and
to the laundromat that time, remember?
that was great.
That was great. It was very exciting to me.
Yeah,
What
I
was that
mean,
good t-shirt you had? You had a good t-shirt.
was it a Zappa for president or
Yeah.
something? Because
I
I
think
remember
so.
that day, I think Steph snapped a pic, or maybe you did of me holding
I
that
did.
up, and I
Thank you
was
very
like in
much. That was my
full.
I was the photographer.
Yeah, that was a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I've sort of, you know, I probably like went and sat down at an outdoor eatery that down a side street every week. but I'm on super duper strict quarantine right now. So
Yeah.
I'm in for the really till after Christmas. And so
Hmm.
I'm very excited about my new free MPC digital audio workstation that I don't even understand why they sent it for free. Like maybe they just like it's a new thing and it's like beta phase or something and they want people to like it. It's really fun.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like a quite a rabbit hole, you know.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just like it'll give me something to do when I'm procrastinating about my doing my astrology work. So, music could like sneak up, but like I'll be so busy. I'm really good at procrastinating. I can procrastinate for hours. So
Mm.
this could be music's revenge.
Hmm.
I don't know. I miss playing in bands with people. That's what I really
I
like
do
about
too.
playing music.
Have
It's all
have
very well
you
to have these toys to play alone, but
have you had any kind of outdoor gigs or anything like during the summer or
I
anything
had
like that?
a very strange but exhilarating indoor gig on La Poisson Rouge TV with Chick Chick Chick.
Oh yeah. Nice.
And it was quite a big production. They had a TV crew in there, and we all had to have COVID tests and have our you know temperatures taken and be pretty distanced, wear masks, all that. And then Chick 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 is a very dynamic performing band. And the horns, it was a three-piece horn section, and we just came in for the last three songs of their set. So before that, I was watching their whole set in this empty room, La Poisson Rouge, quite a big room, by myself, not 6 feet next to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And, they were like throwing down, like they just gave it everything. And then there would just be silence at the end of every song. And I'd be like,
Wow.
and I was like, this is really weird. But as soon as I got up on stage and I was playing with the gang, I didn't think there was anything weird about it. And I threw down and I was just like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Like I'm listening to Smuda, I'm listening to Michael Cammers. I'm like, they sound amazing. I'm looking at Mia. She sounds amazing. She looks amazing. They're like, the whole, and I'm like, the whole band is like, so there was a little transcendental moment not so long ago. It was so
I
much fun. And then like I felt high afterwards
that's the
and
best.
I went home and, Smuda and I rode home and it was late. It was like, midnight. And it just was like, huh, this
You're
is
like, this feels
this is pretty
normal again.
great. This is pretty great going and playing in a band. So that's the only one time. And then I've done a couple of studio things that were like very kind of, you know, COVID precautious.
Mm-hmm.
And on Reverend Vince's 50th birthday, the band gathered on our drummer's rooftop and
Mm.
surprised Vince. So when he
Nice.
arrived, we were jamming, and he came in. There was a piano set up, and we jammed.
Aw.
And we just played three songs, and that was kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
That was like the first time for any of us playing music at all, and it was just the first time seeing each other for half of us. So half of us live on one side of Brooklyn, and the other half, I guess, lives in Queens. So, um, yeah, that was those are the only times. Did you do anything?
Yeah, I had about 3 or 4 gigs in the
You played in a
summer.
driveway, right?
Yeah, with Samir Gupta. Yeah, that was like the last thing I did. That was in September. And yeah, we did a whole album in April where it was like remote sending each other tracks.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You
And
and
so,
Samir.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so then that was the first time we actually got to play together since that. And it was cool. It wasn't as cathartic as I would have hoped, but it's like
Right.
we'll have another opportunity. And I played
Yeah.
with Club Delph, Club Delph. So it's this guy Mike Rivard, who's like a Boston guy who he's probably played with lots of people, and John Medeski.
Oh yeah.
We played at the Falcon upstate. You know
Oh,
the
how was
that place.
that?
It was great. That was in August. That was like the first gig I had since no
Sounds like a
gigs.
good one.
Yeah, it was on this. The venue is actually on this waterfall. It's like this
Wow.
old barn, and the inside they have like a pretty nice performance space, but so they have this outside deck that kind of goes down around this waterfall. So it's kind of ideal for an outdoor situation. So they have like the stage set up at the top deck, and then there's all these tiers down that where the tables are.
That sounds amazing.
And it was great. It was pretty
I would
cool.
like to go to the Falcon next summer.
You would love the Falcon. You
I
would love the
like
Falcon.
I like waterfalls.
And I did Jeff got Jeff's V Jeffrey Smith. This guy. Wait. This guy.
Oh, are you wearing a family stand t-shirt?
Yeah.
I've been trying to figure out what your t-shirt was.
This individual on my t-shirt.
I know that
V
guy.
Jeffrey Smith. He had a gig at like a couple's anniversary party. Somebody recommended him, and they got him to hire a band. So it was me and him and Rocky Bryant and
Nice.
Trevor. I forget the
Exeter?
bass player. No,
Trevor Exeter?
maybe Trevor Allen, the bass player.
Trevor Dunn?
No, Trevor Allen. I think I'm pretty
Lots
sure.
of Trevors play bass, huh?
Yeah, but we were playing like instrumental jazz stuff, and that was very fun. That was very good.
Great.
And I've been doing sessions at home here and there, recording for people. Yeah, and it's all kind of just weird,
Right.
because before it's like you never realize how free you really were before, where you can just like, oh yeah, I'll come over, let's go, let's do this, let's do that, and it's just like there's
Yeah.
nothing holding you back from any of it.
Yeah, we did have a lot of freedom. I mean, I realized how free I was in some ways. Like if I would be like walking up the street at like 2:30 in the morning in Brooklyn and feeling fine, I would be like, this is real freedom because not all women everywhere can do this.
True. Yeah.
And freedom to musical freedom, playing in groups where you could do what you wanted and that was the right thing. That was pretty freeing. But yeah, in terms of like, I'm just going to like get on the subway and go to Manhattan, that was a lot of freedom that I took for granted. And
get into a small space with musicians and rehearse.
Like, yeah.
Laugh very loudly.
Yeah. All that stuff, all that really good stuff.
Not sanitize your hands every other minute.
Yeah. So, it'll be different when we come out of this peduncle. Do you know what a peduncle is?
No, but I love it. I love that.
I love it. I just learned it. It's a word I learned from an astrologer. And she said that when you take two funnels and put them together on their side, well, it doesn't have to be on their side, but she said on their side. Maybe it does have to be on their side because if it weren't, it would imply one was on top and one was on the bottom. But they're side by side with their like skinny funnel part here and their open part there. And she said, this is 2019. The peduncle is 2020.
Okay.
And 2021 is out the other side. It opens up again. So this year of constriction that we've felt is going to open up, which is a kind of unanimous sentiment in astrology, but it doesn't really mean anything that you could put a value on. That could be a good thing or a terrible thing. Now, you like cartoons. I know.
I do. It depends.
You
on
like
what.
the South Park?
Yeah, we've watched South Park together, I think.
Right. Well, I want to just reference South Park, the trilogy Imagination Land. You familiar?
I don't know if I know that.
Did I imagine it? Because no one knows it.
I mean, it might be a more recent one. Like I haven't really stayed up with.
I didn't watch
South
it
Park.
anytime lately. I watched it like at least 8 years ago. But Imagination Land is a trilogy, and what it talks about is like everything imaginable is in your imagination, right? And so it could be great or it could be terrible, depending on, and it also kind of plays back into that idea of like the people that read The Secret or listening to records and then turning them into your real life. Like, it's about what you imagine. Like right before the pandemic, a friend of mine was watching The Pandemic and just kept saying, "Oh, I'm watching the show, The Pandemic." Blah 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 blah. I think there was a show called Pandemic, right? TV show.
If there was, I missed that one.
I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it, and I wouldn't have watched it because I said to my friend, I was like, why do you fill your head with that stuff? You're going to make that happen.
Yeah.
And then when it happened, and suddenly the whole world saying the word pandemic, I was like, you shouldn't have watched that TV show because now it's in our consciousness, and now it's out of our consciousness, and now it's in our lives, and it is our lives. I don't know. Um, Imagination land. So the other side of the peduncle has
That should be a band. That should
I
be a band name.
My rap name, Peduncle. Not that I'm ever
Yeah,
gonna,
hyphen Dunkel.
yeah, but I don't know that I would ever be needing such a name, really. But Peduncle would be a good one.
Hey, speaking of astrology, did you see Mucho Mucho Amor?
I certainly did.
Did you love it? Because I loved it.
I
loved it.
Loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it with all my heart.
That's one of the best movies I've seen all year.
It was so uplifting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really
and
was.
Yet so uplifting, and then so sad and so beautiful.
Yeah, it was a really beautiful movie.
It really was. Yeah, I loved that. And then I watched Mr. Robot, and I loved that.
I didn't.
Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I think you'd like that. I think you'd like Mr. Robot. It's not a new thing. It's from 2015 to 2019, but there was a lot of prophetic stuff in that series, actually, that I was like, how did they know?
Speaking of prophetic, what they say is one of the most prophetic shows of all time is
Black Mirror.
Well, The Simpsons, I was going to really say.
Oh.
When you get a minute, just Google something like times the Simpson prophesized something that ended up coming true or something like that.
Oh.
There's like huge databases of all these things that they...
Huge databases.
No, there are, because it's a lot of them. Like even Trump being president, they had that in an episode like in the 90s or something.
It did?
Yeah, they've had like
literally him?
Yes. I mean, it wasn't him doing his own voice, I don't think, but like...
I love Lisa Simpson.
You should look up Simpsons prophecies.
I should.
Because there's a lot of things on that show that ended up coming true.
Well, sure. I like The Simpsons. I love Lisa.
Yeah. Do you remember when my old place, when we lived around the corner from each other, and
but we lived around the corner from each other either way in your old place.
That's true. That's true. But when you lived in your old place and I lived in my old place.
My old place was right in between your new place and your old place.
That's true. And my new place is not new. It's old.
Exactly. I mean, you've been there like a long time.
My old
I know. Yeah.
And we would watch Family Guy DVDs, and you would just be hollering. I have like a really fun memory of...
was that there?
Yeah.
I remember watching a Family Guy at your new place. And
really?
Yeah, and it was on your birthday.
Old place. I think it was the old place. Yeah, but I remember you were just like laughing top to bottom.
I really did love it, and yet I never watched it outside of your house. Like it's just it's a special thing for you. But I do always associate that show with you.
I don't know why. I haven't seen it in so long. I used to be really into it.
Well, times change, Ben. We move on.
Yeah, we grow.
Some of us move on.
We grow out of cartoons.
You move on, and there's new things, and then sometimes you go back to one of those old things, and you're like, oh my god, I loved this.
Have you seen?
That's how I feel about Petula Clark right now.
Have you seen Rick and Morty?
I've taken a look at it, but I never dug in.
I think you would like it.
Really?
I think you would. Yeah, I think it's probably the weirdest, most surreal mind fuck of a cartoon ever created.
What are you saying?
I'm saying it's...
You're saying I'm weird?
No, but I'm saying that I feel like it's challenging in all the right ways. It's bizarre and abstract, and it's unpredictable. I mean, I can't explain it, but it's really good. It's really hilarious and well done.
Hmm. All right. Well, I'll squeeze it in between procrastinating on MPC beats and with my iwi.
Yeah.
I had a good time doing that today.
Mm,
I went on the Instagram live, got myself a filter,
nice.
got down, and I just went for it and I didn't care. And
That's what the kids
it,
are doing. Instagram
it was
Live.
really fun. Like I just was like, this is fun. So yeah, I think there's a whole world of fun procrastination there for me. And I'll watch Rick and Morty in the meantime. And I watched Lovers Rock. Did you watch that?
I've not seen that.
It's really great, and there's this amazing scene in it that I loved, where everybody's at the party, and then there's three DJs. Oh, there is a DJ crew, Mercury Sound, at the party, and then the DJ plays this one song, and everybody loves it, and everyone starts singing along at the party, like maybe like 24 people or something, and then they just like really keep singing along, and the DJ stops the music. There's like an instrumental break where they're singing over it, and then he stops it, and they sing this song for 5 minutes, and it is so cool. Like it's just like I was like, wow, this is like the best footage of music. It was like it was so good. I watched it a lot of times, like just that scene.
I just have to realize there's so much that I'm just not going to see. Because
Well, that's right. That's
every
life.
time I talk to
That's
anybody, have you
life.
seen this? You got to see this. You got to binge this. I'm like, I can't.
You
I can't
can't. You
just
can't do
watch.
it all.
I can't
You
watch
can't see
everything.
everything. You can't know everything. You can't eat everything. But I will say that since we are still a little in Sagittarius, well, we're very much in Sagittarius season right now because the Sun and Mercury and Venus are all in Sagittarius, and so it's we're as much there as we're going to be, although it's over soon.
Hmm.
But in astrology, we learn that anything you can think of in life is associated with one of the zodiac signs.
Hmm.
And so when you're learning astrology, you learn Aquarius is associated with freedom and rebellion and innovation and technology and the greater benefit of the common good and all these ideas and solutions and the future.
Hmm.
All those things, that you're Aquarius.
Well, I don't often think about it, but I'll
Did
take it.
anything I say there not resonate?
No, all of it did.
Right. So those are Aquarian things.
Hmm.
And every sign of the zodiac has these things that are a list of things that are associated with your sign of the zodiac. So Sagittarius has a list of things, but the Sagittarius list is very multifarious. It's humor and philosophy and abundance and excess and faith and this and that, like a long list of things.
Hmm.
And in my mind, it was harder for me to tie all those things together and see how they related to each other. But I think that yesterday, I think last year I kind of realized, Sagittarius season opens with Thanksgiving and ends with the winter solstice. It's the season, it's the month leading up to the winter solstice.
Okay.
And Sagittarius represents faith.
Hmm.
And what we do in this month leading up to the winter solstice, when all the light is going to be gone, like the longest night of the year, we are overeating, overspending, overindulging, celebrating. And everything we're doing at this time of year is actually an act of faith that the light will come back after the solstice, and it will
I
begin
love
to
that.
come back, and there will be more money. And we did max out our credit cards, but we will get it done. We ate too much, but we will do more exercising. So, after that, we make New Year's resolutions.
Mm.
And like the more I'm digging in, as I keep repeating about astrology, but that's what I've been doing all year. I've been studying astrology very deeply. And, you know, the more that I learn about it, the more I see that the patterns of what we do as humans are tied into these cycles.
Mm.
So, you know, it's okay to overdo it at this time because it's actually an act of faith
Wow.
that you'll be rebuilding after, when the light starts coming back, right? So it's not even a time to feel guilty about overdoing it. It's a time to overdo it.
I have to sit with that. Yeah.
It felt good for me to connect these things, and like generosity is a Sagittarian thing.
Mm.
What are we doing? We're like maxing out our credit cards to get gifts for other people, showing faith that we will be able to pay our credit cards off next year. you
Or
know,
at some point before,
at some
yeah.
point, yeah, at some point, or not. But for most of us, that is the act of faith that
Mm.
there will be more money, that there will be more food. We're going to eat all the food in the cupboards. Then with the act, that in an act of faith that there'll be more food next year.
Mm.
Sharing, we're going to share. We're going to, celebrate like there's no tomorrow, but really it's an act of faith that there is tomorrow. I think I think I understand Sagittarius a little better now.
Hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, where can people connect with you?
Oh,
Let's plug all
right
things.
here on the internet. This is
I
where I
know.
live. This
I
is where I
know.
am 24/7.
But
I'm
where
on
let's
Instagram.
so we're gonna do all the plugs. So Instagram, what's your Instagram?
Instagram, Moist Paula. The other Instagram is Zodiac Soundtracks.
Right, Zodiac Soundtracks.
For my pontifications, such as the one I just made on what I think it means to be overspending as an act of faith,
Mm-hmm.
zodiacsoundtracks.com, there's a blog. On Spotify, there are a whole lot of these Zodiac soundtracks of which I speak. Because what a Zodiac soundtrack is, it's where I come up with some music that is connected with the astrology. So
Mm.
if it's your natal chart, I would look at your natal chart and I would see what I think that means to me. I would talk to you perhaps about what you think it means to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then each planet in your natal chart would evoke a musical response. And I will put together a musical offering based on your natal chart. That is a
That's
Zodiac
pretty
soundtrack.
that's pretty cool. Yeah,
It's pretty fun.
people need to go check that out
Thank you.
for sure.
People need to do whatever they want, but
That's true. But hey, look, they're here.
I hope they want to check that out.
If
But
they're still here at this point,
yeah,
go to
if they're
that.
still here at this point, you are going to edit this, right?
Minimally. I mean, this
It's
is
long. It's
that's
long.
the point. That's the
It's
point.
long.
It's long form.
Long
It's long form. The
podcasts.
whole thing is like people are like getting to
Long
plug
ass
into
podcasts.
our conversation that we would normally have,
Well,
anyway.
we've given a pretty uncensored version of that.
It could have been. It could. Hey, it could have been a lot more. You know,
Taboo.
sure. It was. It was not. It was not gossipy. It was not. There's nothing incriminating in this.
Precisely.
You know, we're not incriminating ourselves here.
I'm not trying to get in trouble.
That's not what the tune in is all about.
Mhm.
I said that's not what the tune in is all about.
Oh,
That's the name of this show.
Yeah, that is. You're right. Tune in with Ben Tyree.
That's right.
Tune in, turn on, drop out.
Yeah, I like that, but that's already kind of, I don't know. I don't like the drop out part, but I like
No.
drop something. I mean, I don't know about the out.
Drop
I like
acid.
tune in is cool, turn on is cool.
Tune in, turn on, drop acid.
If you want and you're in a
If
safe
you want,
environment.
if the setting is all in good
If you're
shape.
if you're safe and comfortable
Yeah. Yeah.
and above whatever.
Tune in, turn on, drop vitamins.
That's right. Drop vitamin D.
Yeah. Tune in, turn on, drop your new album.
Yeah. Drop your new album.
Drop my new album of like improvised MPC beats executed on iwi,
Do it. Why not?
inspired by planetary transits. Because the one I did today was about how Venus went into Sagittarius, or it is going into Sagittarius in about half an hour.
Yo, it is?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Big love, expanded love, the things you like and love expansively. Mucho, mucho amor is
I
the
have
perfect
big love
Venus.
for you.
Mucho, mucho amor.
To you, my friend, my
To
colleague.
you, my
I
bandmate.
can't wait to play again with you.
Oh, look, I can't wait to play or go to the laundromat or just
Or like get a
go for a
coffee
walk.
or
Yeah, anything.
all right. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Ben Tyree. That was a lot of fun. I want to thank Paula Henderson. Please click red subscribe button down there on YouTube. Donate if you'd like to contribute to the show. Check out my website, bentyree.net. Sponsorships, products, organizations. If you want to sponsor the tune in, please hit me up at contact@bentyree.net. We're going to roll these out every Thursday and Sunday on my YouTube page at 8 p.m. We've got a lot of great guests coming up and moving into the future. So thank you for being with us. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Peace.